You wake up. You step outside. You make one normal decision. Something you wouldn't even think twice about today. And within hours, you're dead. No warning. No appeal. No escape. History isn't just wars and kings. It's also filled with ordinary people, who made ordinary mistakes, and paid for them with their lives. These weren't criminals. They weren't rebels. They weren't villains. They were just unlucky enough to live in the wrong time. These are everyday mistakes that were fatal in history. In the ancient world, survival depended on knowing invisible rules. Rules that were never written down. Rules no one explained. Rules that changed depending on who was watching. One of the most common mistakes was speaking. Today, speaking your mind is normal. Back then, it could be deadly. A careless comment about a ruler. A joke taken the wrong way. A rumor repeated without thinking. Words were dangerous. In many societies, authority was sacred. Questioning it wasn't disagreement. It was treason. And treason didn't mean prison. It meant disappearance. People learned to measure every sentence. Not because they were cowards, but because silence was the safest language. Another mistake was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ancient cities didn't have clear boundaries of safety. A street could change meaning overnight. You could walk into a restricted area without knowing it existed. You could pass through a space reserved for elites. You could stand where you weren't allowed to stand. And intent didn't matter. The law didn't care that you didn't know. Ignorance wasn't innocence. If you crossed an invisible line, you became an example. Daily work itself could be fatal. In many historical societies, people lived where they worked. Farms, workshops, streets. Accidents were common. But accidents weren't forgiven. Breaking a tool, damaging property, injuring someone unintentionally. Today, these are mistakes. Back then, they were crimes. And crimes demanded punishment. Harsh punishment. The idea of intent, of accident versus purpose, came much later. In ancient law, the outcome mattered more than the reason. And the outcome could cost you everything. Even eating could be dangerous. Food wasn't just food, it was power. Certain foods were restricted. Some were reserved for specific classes. Others were tied to religious rules. Eating the wrong thing, at the wrong time, or in the wrong way, could be seen as defiance. And defiance wasn't tolerated. People didn't starve because food didn't exist. They starved because food was controlled. A single bite could be interpreted as rebellion. If this kind of history fascinates you, or unsettles you, this is exactly what Dark Origins is about. If you haven't already, subscribe to Dark Origins, because the past was far more dangerous than we're taught. Another fatal mistake was being noticed. Today, attention is currency. Back then, attention was a threat. Standing out was dangerous. Success invited suspicion. Failure invited punishment. If you did too well, people questioned you. If you did too poorly, people blamed you. The safest position was invisibility. Blend in. Say little. Agree often. Survival wasn't about excellence. It was about avoiding attention. Traveling was also risky. There were no clear maps. No signs. No warnings. You could unknowingly enter land controlled by someone hostile. You could cross a border without realizing it existed. And borders weren't lines on a map. They were enforced with fear. If you were caught in the wrong territory, your life depended on who found you first. Traveler or spy, merchant or enemy, the difference was often decided in seconds. Mistakes weren't always individual. Sometimes they were inherited. Being born into the wrong family, the wrong class, the wrong profession. In many periods of history, your fate was decided before you could walk. Some people had no legal protection at all. No rights, no voice. If they were harmed, it didn't matter. If they were accused, it was enough. Justice didn't apply equally. It applied selectively. Another everyday mistake was trusting the system. People believed rules existed to protect them. They didn't. Rules existed to preserve order, not fairness. When something went wrong, the system didn't ask who was right. It asked who was expendable. And the answer was usually the same. History often celebrates progress. But progress came slowly, and unevenly. For most of human existence, life was fragile. One decision, one word, one misunderstanding. That was all it took. Think about how many choices you make every day without thinking. Where you walk, what you say, what you eat, who you look at. In the past, Those choices carried weight. Deadly weight. What makes this history unsettling isn't just the punishment. It's how normal it all felt. People adapted. They learned the rules. They passed them down. Fear became routine, and survival became a skill. Today, we look back and ask how people lived like that. The answer is simple. They didn't have a choice. And if you were born then, you wouldn't either. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. History isn't meant to be comforting. It's meant to remind us how easily safety can disappear. For more dark, forgotten truths about humanity's past, subscribe to Dark Origins. Because the past isn't just history. It's a warning.